Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a DbD discussion video. If the Dead by Daylight community is one thing, it's delusional. Oftentimes, I find myself seeing or sometimes receiving very stupid questions that are just from lack of reading and convincing ourselves that something is way better than it actually is. That isn't to say that I don't appreciate questions, but I do hate dumb questions. I really do. That's something that my friends know about me. And, well, I'm here to kind of help you ask less of them. I see it all the time, and really it's just a misunderstanding. But as somebody that actually reads, I don't understand how we get to certain points. So, I decided to make this video as a way to help new players in a different type of way. Like I said a couple of videos ago, I was going to put out a guide of how to make a build for new players, but a lot of the time, people have been spreading misinformation on what to tell new players and what to do with it. And there's just some perks that truly are not as good as you think. So, for the bad guy side, which is the one that I specialize in, I had a few that I wrote down and wanted to get through to tell you they really aren't that good and you should probably stop trying to make it work. The biggest offender of this is this perk, Unrelenting. I've said it before, I've said it again, and every time I say it, somebody goes, I've gotten value from this. No, you haven't. No, you have not. Unrelenting is a perk that makes it so that the cooldown after missed basic attacks is reduced by 30%. Please stop running this. That means that you did the thing that you shouldn't do, which is miss your attack, and it does not work on anything that you think it does. No, if you hit Dredge's locks on lockers, you did not get unrelenting value, because the way this perk works is that if you make contact with something, you get a different cooldown in general. If you straight up miss, you whiff the air, then unrelenting kicks in. You have to hit nothing, and then unrelenting will work as the perk is described. Which brings me to the next point. There's never a situation in which you would want to not hit. I understand you've seen some of your favorites maybe try to bait out Dead Hard or whatever else with unrelenting, well, without unrelenting. But to that extent, you don't need unrelenting to do that. If you don't see them running it, neither should you. Please stop running unrelenting. And if you think you are about to comment, I had unrelenting value, stop. Get some help. Take it off. The next perk that I want to talk about is, I don't understand how we got to this part where we think that Insidious works for the anti-camping unhook. I've seen it way too many times that people go, well, with Insidious, I can stand next to the hook. Nobody said that it was based on terror radius whatsoever. It is based on distance. Insidious removes your terror radius. It does not remove your distance. So, Insidious is funny for certain things, but if it was if the anti-hook measure was anti-camp measure was put in place because of things like Bubba camping, and we all know that Insidious Bubba was like a funny camping thing, how did we convince ourselves that Insidious would make it so that that didn't work anymore when that was like the #1 offender? So, Insidious, it does not stop the meter from going up on anti-camp. You will still let them unhook themselves with Insidious on. It doesn't work the way you think it does. Then, One you've all heard me complain about a lot, and that has finally returned to its true name, Surge. When you put a survivor down with a basic attack, all gens within a 32-meter radius will explode and begin to regress by 8% and go down. Basic attack. It will not work on Huntress, on Hatchets rather, Trickster Knives, Plague Vom, Pyramid Head, M2. It won't work on those things. It will work on Myers downs. It will work on Ghostface downs, because those are still their basic attacks. But it will not work on projectiles, or else this would be a lot more valuable. That's Surge / Jolt. The next thing we have coming up is kind of a whammy by itself, so I'm going to clear this to give it room just because. Okay? Is this. First off, with Devour, a lot of content creators, I think including myself, have asked that Devour only light up after you get 2 tokens and it starts to give you effects. You've asked for that. It has not happened. Devour is always lit up on the map. I've seen it too many times where people go, oh, do you think that the new hex should work like Devour, where it only lights up after you get stacks? Devour is always lit. You are probably thinking of Plaything and or Face the Darkness, but Devour is always lit. The other thing about a Devour that I want to talk about is that you can no longer hide it with powers. That used to be a thing. They got rid of that a long time ago. I know a lot of people seem to still be confused on this. I don't know why, but no, you cannot hide it with Victor. You can't hide it with Huntress Hatchet, Trickster Knives, what have you. If they go down because of your ability, they will see that you have Devour online. You cannot hide Devour with powers anymore. Then the next one is also a hex. We have Huntress Lullaby. Specifically when it comes to Pig, a lot of people seem to be under the impression that Pig's skill checks on her boxes can be affected. They cannot. Huntress Lullaby will not work on Pig Jigsaw boxes, and to that extent, neither will Unnerving Presence. You cannot affect the skill check zones on Pig's boxes, or else you would see your favorite Pig main doing it a lot more. I'm sorry to tell you that it will not work on those. We're going to clear that once more. As we go to another perk that is the bane of my Trickster main existence, Play with your food. This will make it so that every time you chase your obsession and let them escape, you receive a token up to a max of 3. Those tokens go away after you perform a basic attack or special attack. Doesn't matter if you hit, it will go away if you use one of them. This goes for Trickster. Every knife will consume one of these stacks of Play with your food. However, you can use Plague, the green Vom, to continue to have your stacks. And that's just Plague. You can use the green Vom to do it, and then they go broken, and then you can put them down and then consume a stack at that same time. However, every single one of Trickster's knives will use a Play with your food stack. Moving on to Rapid Brutality, who's also on this page. This does not work on powers. Much like Jolt, this is for basic attacks only. It won't work on your favorites that you think it does. Please stop. Get some help. And also, I think we've all finally let it go. It's not that good. getting 5% haste for 10 seconds, it's not that good. It really isn't. Because you have to give up getting Bloodlust, which honestly is much better on most of these maps. So, Rapid Brutality, I suggest you probably stop using it overall, but it doesn't work on your favorite projectiles, M2s, what have you. It is only if you click that M1 button for a basic attack. Then we go over to another one that I don't understand why this is so confusing to people. Save the best for last. On Legion. No. Every time you get a slice on your frenzy, it will not give you a stack. It won't. So I'm confused why that one tricks so many people. Like, I do understand that you go, oh, but I'm clicking M1. But also, what would be the purpose, right? If you're already getting injuries fast, why would you feel the need to put this on? I guess if you could try to keep the duration of Legion, if that were the case. But I am here to burst the bubble that Save the Best for Last unfortunately does not work on Feral Frenzy on Legion. Then we go over to another one that I now understand why people get confused. But much like, well, a lot of the perks, this one is for basic attacks. I understand that this one doesn't just say it outright, but lunges are basic attacks for coup de grace. If you're going to lunge, this is for basics. That's why it's very scary on Myers, and it kinda used to be something on Nurse. No longer works that way, but even then, was it ever really worth it? So, coup de grace, I'm sorry to tell you, it only works on basic attacks, even though it doesn't really say it, so I'll give you a pass on that one. Then we go to another hex that I probably should have mentioned before. Hex crowd control. This will block a window for 60 seconds after a survivor performs a rush vault through it. This means that they can slow vault through it and it won't activate. But the main reason I want to talk about this one is because this will happen every time they fast vault through one. So, if you truly want to lock down an area, you still need to bring Bamboozle. It will only apply to one window at a time. So if they go through a TNL, only one of those will be blocked at a time, and it'll keep switching, so they really can vault to their heart's content between the two windows in a TNL. And then finally, what I have on my list is, again, a bit more baddie specific. So I'm just going to put both of them on the screen for us here. This is going to be Pop. And this is going to be Nowhere to Hide. Can you guess who I'm going to talk about this for? Yeah, the person that this came with, so I understand the confusion. The Knight's Guards cannot apply gen perks. So this will throw in Oppression 2. That's a funny sentence. We'll throw in Oppression 2. Nowhere to Hide, Pop Goes the Weasel, Oppression, things like that. The guards will not apply them. So you actually still have to kick if you want the effect of Nowhere to Hide to see where people are around. If you want the gen to regress by 30% of its current progress. And if you want to trigger Oppression for whatever reason. So those are the common bad guy perk misconceptions that I could think of off the top of my head, and hopefully this video gets around so that new players and people that maybe just haven't touched the game in a while, and those people that cannot read, understand a little bit more about why their favorite perk doesn't work on their favorite Betty sometimes, and why they might swear up and down that it is great, even though it actually has nothing to do with one another. I don't really do informative videos as much because I don't necessarily find myself great at doing new player content because, like I said, dumb questions annoy me. So some things that are like easily Googleable, I just feel that you can Google it instead of asking me, which is interesting given my career so far. But there's a difference between not knowing how to ask something and being able to type the difference on a chat or a YouTube comment when you could have just Googled it. If you ask me, hey, what's the range of nowhere to hide? You could have just Googled that. So, I don't know. If you like this type of information being presented to you, let me know. And if there's any other common perk misconceptions that you can think of off the top of your head, feel free to drop them down below, because I really want people to stop asking really goofy questions. Almost as bad as I want them to stop running unrelenting. So, that's that. Take off unrelenting. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.